Starfield. The dismissive and cautious among us have been calling it Fallout in space. Others have been calling it Skyrim. With guns. In space. But for many fans of Bethesda's creation series of games, it's something that the community has been looking forward to with hopeful optimism for almost 5 years at this point, having been given our first small glimpse of what was to come during the summer of 2018. It wouldn't be until 3 years later that we would see our first look at Starfield, this one being a fully rendered in-engine look at what players could expect upon release. And while many were critical that it looked just like a polished version of what many previous titles did, many others were eager to pick apart every single pixel of this trailer for as much information as they could gather.
We can finally climb ladders!
It was also during this trailer that we get our first official release date for the game, the 11th of November. I say the first because unfortunately, Bethesda would have to push the game back to a later date into 2023. But there's been some recent news on that front that we'll talk about a little bit later. During the summer of 2023, during the E3 event, Bethesda would bring to the table an even more in-depth look at the game, showing off a bit about the game's factions, what gameplay would look like, and revealing that the game would have over 1,000 planets across 100 different solar systems that the player could visit in our very own customizable spaceships. More recently though, during Fallout's birthday month in October, Bethesda would release a video titled Constellation Questions, Talking Starfield with Todd Howard, where Todd Howard would answer questions about the upcoming game, and talk about the new persuasion system, which appears to be an upgrade from Bethesda's typical speech check system. So where does this leave us currently? What do we actually know about Starfield? We know that the story of the game takes place some 280 years into the future, about 50 light years away from our solar system, in an area of space dubbed the Settled Systems. 20 years before the start of the game, a conflict called the Colony Wars took place between a group called the United Colonies and another called the Freestar Collective. We as the player character, dubbed the Spacefarer, are a member of an exploration group called Constellation, who is, quote, committed to unlocking the mysteries of the galaxy, and we can infer that our role in this organization would be similar to that of a scout or a researcher in some capacity. We know that the Spacefarer is fully customizable, and that a robust perk and leveling system will be part of the core game, seeming to function more like Fallout New Vegas or Skyrim, with a focus on leveling and skill-based abilities, as opposed to Fallout 4, with a strict focus on perks, or Fallout 76, with its card-based system. We know that the game will feature slow-tempo ship-based combat, which Todd Howard describes as being inspired by FTL Faster Than Light and the MechWarrior series. In other words, think something similar to ship combat in the Assassin's Creed franchise, but more technical. Specifically, it is theorized that, based on the inspiration, combat may be centered around power transferring in order to boost attack, defense, or maneuvering capabilities as needed during combat. Additionally, should you be able to disable the enemy ship without destroying it, you may be able to board the vessel and take control, assuming you've quelled the disagreements of the ship's current crew. One way or another. There's a bunch of other things that I could go into detail on, like the factions, locations, things like that. But for this video, I want to specifically focus on the biggest things that we learned not only from this questionnaire video with Todd Howard, but also some news about the projected release date of the game. The first noteworthy thing I want to talk about is just how many lines of dialogue are in this game. When Fallout New Vegas came out, it was entered into the Guinness Book of World Records for having a staggering 65,000 lines of dialogue. And seeing as how it had close to double the number of quests compared to Fallout 3, it's not hard to see why. While Skyrim would struggle to break past this number, Fallout 4 would absolutely destroy it. Once again, doubling the number of lines with roughly 111,000. Starfield, on the other hand, has over double the lines of dialogue compared to Fallout 4, meaning that it has roughly 6 times as much dialogue as existed in Fallout New Vegas. That's a lot. New Vegas is praised by Bethesda fans and gamers across the world for its storytelling and quest crafting, allowing for multiple different methods of approaching and completing specific quests. Even if half the quests in Starfield have garbage dialogue and no player choice, there's still a vastly higher chance that the rest of the story and quests will be easy contenders for people's favorite side quests in video games. You should probably also pack a pen and paper to keep track of everything, because Bethesda's loading a lot of dialogue rounds into their story gun there. The amount of dialogue in the game may actually be bolstered by the game's persuasion system, wherein the player is presented with a set number of points and a set number of turns to try to convince their interlocutor of something, or otherwise agree with the spacefarer's argument. From what we have been shown, it appears that either the least or the average amount of turns that the spacefarer will have is 3. Although it does not indicate how many points we have, a small counter does allude that we will have to earn at least 4 persuasion points in order to succeed in our conversation attempt. This, however, could be specific for this NPC that they showcased and may change between different characters. Additionally, colored markers on the side indicate a risk-reward system, green options being more likely to succeed, but adding less to the successful attempt, and red indicate a one-turn victory, but being less likely. To me, this system feels much more natural compared to the other forms of speech check that Bethesda has utilized in the past, such as the percentage system in Fallout 3 or the skill requirement in Fallout New Vegas. The art of persuasion is all about opening up a dialogue with the other person, not just saying one specific thing that automatically convinces them, or just getting lucky. I would also question as to how this system is affected by perks or traits, making it easier or harder based on specific bonuses or limitations to persuasion based on how you build your character. Obviously, a mercenary build shouldn't have the same opportunities to accomplish a speech check as a seasoned diplomat would. Needless to say, I am very interested to learn more about how the persuasion system will work in-game and what its higher-end application could be. The last thing I want to talk about is the thing that's been on everyone's mind since we learned about the game's delay. The thing that's resulted in many sleepless nights, waking up in the midnight hour in a cold sweat, our hearts empty of hope, and our sheets filled with pee. When will the game come out? Well, just a few days ago, we got our answer. Kind of. On a recent episode of the Friends Per Second podcast hosted by Jake Baldino of GameRanks fame, he and his co-host sat down with Matt Booty, the current head of Xbox Game Studio. Since Bethesda is a studio under Xbox's banner, Matt has a wealth of insight when it comes to the gaming landscape. During the interview, Matt revealed that while no set date for Starfield had been made, the game will be coming out after the release of Bethesda's vampire hunting FPS game, Redfall, which unfortunately does not currently have a slated release date. Personally, I think this is kind of bullshit because Starfield was announced first and I want to play it now, god damn it! Regardless, and more so specifically because rumors have circulated that Redfall may drop sometime during the spring of 2023 or sooner, and with Starfield being slated before the first half of next year, we can assume that the game may drop. Rick! We can assume that the game may drop sometime in early spring or early summer 2023. I think it's more likely that we'll see a summer release date, thus making Starfield an easy contender for a summer blockbuster, but at this point, we'll just have to wait and see. For now, though, I'd like to hear from you guys. What aspect of Starfield are you most looking forward to? Building your own ship, exploring distant alien worlds, visiting your parents? Let me know down in the comments section. I thank you all so much for watching, like and subscribe and stuff, and until next time, I will see you all out there in the wasteland.